Well, hello and welcome to the wrap, episode number 39 on this Thursday, April 13th, 2023. I'm Nathan Guerra. Anna Russel is sat next to me virtually coming out of New Zealand. I'm in the Midwest of the USA in Wisconsin, and this is a show rounding up all things Zwift from the last week, racing, events, tech, fashion, etc. We are live on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. This is also a podcast you can download. Head over to ZwiftCommunityLive.com. You can find the podcast tab there, or head on over to anywhere that you get your podcasts. Search the Wrap and Zwift. You should find it really, really easily. This week on the Wrap, what are we talking about? Well, we'll be wrapping up some things about the Zwift Women's Series that's launched. There is a This Season on Zwift massive list of updates that are extremely exciting. Something about portals, teleports, coffee stops, climb special spaces that we've never seen before. This is pretty cool. There's also an awesome Roubaix that happened this past weekend we'll talk a little bit about. And we've got some awesome guests from Galaxy Cycling Club. That is Matt Jenkins Casie Rosie. And of course, we have the fashion show. Let us know from a 1 to a 10 about what you think about all the fashion that we are covering this week for Zwifty things. Oh, and that little thing, PD4, we think that it's absolutely been, Zwift absolutely nailed it, but we want to know your opinion as whether or not you think so. And we have still a couple of opinions about why you might think it's not that great and why it is really, really awesome. So, right.
Maybe I should.
What's up, Anna?
When I wrote that in the show notes, I guess Zwift nailed it. I was actually meaning I nailed it. Like PD4, I nailed it. So.
That was actually about Anna. Anna was talking about herself, that she actually did it. Like, PD4 is 100%. We just can give Anna credit for everything. If it's Zwift, you just give her credit. The fashion, the pack dynamics, women's racing. I mean, it doesn't matter. Anna needs all the credit.
No. But I did your, what do you call it? What do you call it when you go out for your pace spot rides and you're practicing? You've got like a name for it.
Aim labs. So like, there's a couple things you could call it because it's kind of a joke based off of there's aim training games for first-person shooters in other video games. And so one of them was Aim Labs. And essentially it just trains you to be really, really, really accurate and really fast with your mouse to click heads so that you can win first-person shooter games. Well, so people who are like pros some of them will go, and there's a big, of course, like in every gaming community, there's debate as to what works, what doesn't. It's like PD4. So like some people are like, no, you just play the game and that's how you get better at aiming in the game. And you play that game because it has its own way of aiming and et cetera, et cetera. So Aim Labs is what I call it though when I go and hang out with the PacerBot. And what I do is I will load up Sauce and I will see how low my watts per kilogram is. Because you can see your average watts per kilogram on Sauce, right? And so I'll jump into a PacerBot. My goal with whatever PacerBot, if I'm having like just a mediocre day, is 1 watt per kilogram less than what the PacerBot is doing, as long as it's a flat course. You can really only do this on a flat course. If it's more of an uphill course, you got to adjust for the 1 watt per kilogram less. And if I'm having a really good day, it's anything lower than 1 watt per kilogram less when I'm actually paying attention to the aim labs, to practicing as low of power output as I can on that. Well, we already started in on PD4,
we already started
right?
PD4.
So we might as well get going on it.
Yeah, so this came about because I did the women's race series during the week, which I was a little bit... It's hard, right? Because for me, it's 5:30 in the morning. So I get up at like 5:05 and it's coming into winter. So it's cold and I'm so snugly in my bed. And I'm like, 1 lap of Innsbruck. That was what it was this week. So just 9 kilometers, just a lap of Innsbruck. I was like, this is going to be really hard. But I just kind of went with like, whatever, like who cares? Don't get nervous. Just get on the bike, do a real chill warm up. So I just warmed up and like got into it. And I'm actually using... because our Riot team in Zwift Racing League, we don't have a jersey. So every week I'm just doing a new outfit. So I'm like getting quite excited about wearing like new kit and like pairing it up and looking really good. So I had like a full Watch the Femme kit and had paired. Anyway,
I saw that. Amazing. I noticed. I was DSing that race. So.
Oh, nice. So next week I've got the Neokyo kit. So I'm going full Neokyo because I do really like that kit. Anyways, and too much of an aside to fashion. So I was excited to try PD4 in a full-blown race, and a couple of things I noticed. One, this lazy Zwifter has got to pay attention. Like, straight off the bat, I drifted off. And I was like, oh my God. Okay, change the mindset. So my mindset is now, you're not safe when you're on the back of the pack. You are safe when you're like in the back third of the pack. So not drifting off the back anymore. And then I felt a lot better. So I was kind of in the pack, not at the front, and just chilling. Then another thing I noticed, Kristen Kolczynski did a typical kind of tried to break off the front a bit early. And I think Gabby was another one. There was me, Gabby, and maybe Liz, and we kind of jumped on it. Boom, like on her. And that just rolled back. So I think that was interesting. Like, we were able to like detach from the pack pretty quick and get on the wheel. I don't know if that was PD4 or just the fact that we got onto it really quick. Then leg snapper.
They chilled out. So real quickly on that, right there on that, like I was de-essing that same race, right? So I have my perspective about what's going on. And you guys were like 1 or 2 seconds off, and you guys were making the break or not making the break at that moment. And right at that moment that you were able to come back, nobody, like Kristen stopped pushing, like, because they were doing like 6-7 watts per kilogram. And then on the downhill, this was PD4. They didn't roll through with a massive amount of speed. And because nobody was willing, the moment that they hit the flat, to do the work on the front, that roll through speed didn't just continue accelerating the whole pack. And I saw you continue at the front at like 5 watts per kilogram. Boom, came back to the group. Do you see what I'm saying? So
yeah, I think like what I noticed on that downhill is when I looked ahead, I could see the pack was just all lined up in a straight line. I was like, man, this speed has really come off. I was like, we're going to make it. So I just tucked in behind someone and got in. But then the chase pack even made it back, which kind of sucked. So anyway, and then so I was quite impressed. So I looked at the end. I mean, my sprint leaves a lot to be desired. I don't really do any sprint training at the moment. But what I noticed at the end, so Gabby's, and I sent the screenshot. So Gabby had a great race. I think she was second or third. Her average watts were 240. Mine were 212. And I was like, I'm pretty sure like, that there's not a huge watt difference between us, like FTP wise. And so I was like, wow, okay. So that's sitting in the pack with PD4. Like, I was doing no work. Like, I was rolling around. Like, I looked up at one point. I was like, I'm riding 120 watts here. Like, it was easy. Like, once you realize double draft, I think is a default with PD4 as well. I was just like skimming around, like enjoying it. Once I focused and got in the right position, it was so easy. And I averaged like 3.9 watts a kg. The next best was like 4.2. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I think if my sprint gets a bit better, that would pay off.
So I want to throw in here though, what if your sprint is good and positioning matters a lot more, and Gabby put out a lot of work to be third or fourth wheel because she was told to? So I was like, with this crew, because I knew who she was with. I was like, you have to be, because the moment you hit the wind now, you can't just roll through people with like this massive start at the back, boom, all the way to the front. You have to press through people now.
Yeah. So I think, I'll be interested when I like contest a sprint about the positioning then, because I saw the chase pack coming through and I was like, I'm just going to like jump on a wheel of the chase pack and kind of like roll this like in and try and do something. But yeah, I think like the sprint side of it for me like isn't nailed, but the pack part of it is.
Yeah, gotcha. And I think that one for me, I think for everybody, it's going to take a really long time. Well, not really, like it'll take a lot of practice in a race situation, or you just go out with a pack of sprinters, like a Sprint-a-Palooza type thing, and just over and over and over again. I mean, you have to practice over and over and figure out, how does this sprint dynamic actually work best for you? My guess, because of the TTT, and we can move into talking about TTT and PD4, but because of the team time trial tests that Eric Schlange did over at Zwift Insider, definitely go read that article, check it out. It was very clear. And what was the difference? I think it was like up to 40% or 30-some% for the fourth rider. So it was second rider got, I think, like 20 something. But it went up. It was 15 to 20 something. Third rider was like 20 some percent. And then it was like 30 some percent to the fourth rider of draft. And so that fourth wheel leading into a sprint might be the sweet spot. And because of the way that this works, where you have to work to get around, if the speeds get really, really high, it's difficult to come around. You're going to start seeing lead out trains, I think, for sure.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think at a high level, if you got teams all working together and that fourth wheel is like the sweet spot, if it is, it might be third wheel, depending on how much of a kick you have, if you're really confident in your kick and you want to save up, and depending on when you go, how long that lead out's going to be. I mean, there's a lot of factors here. And also in Zwift, I think maybe the first lead out person is going to be more like just drop off, but teammates in Zwift tend to sprint with you. You know what I mean? And so like you're still going to be fighting to the line with those front ones. So that's an interesting one as far as the sprint goes. So that's a whole nother thing. So there's like three different things to talk about here. There's what goes on in just a blob of a pack and how do you interact with that. There's the sprint dynamic and how different a lead out sprint is now. And then there's the TTT dynamic. So, we talked about, how things worked out there with the sprint. How about we go to the TTT? And then I want to talk about this feedback that's been coming about people falling off the back of packs. And I have a really
I got that
good
too.
inkling about that one. But go, like, what do you think in TTT? Have you done TTT yet with it, or?
No, I haven't. I did have a question for you, though, because I noticed in the race I didn't see any of that red auto braking signal coming up. So, but I did see it a lot in a different race. So I don't know if it's always turned on, but did you see it? Because I thought that would be great in a TTT as like a visual cue of like, you need to back off. Like there's no point for you being that close. Because I know with our team, the biggest issue we have is the rider behind getting too close and pushing the rider in front off the wheel. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, that would be a cool thing. But did you see it in your TTT? Like it
was definitely in my team time trial. It only popped up a couple of times though. You have to really, really need, like, there has to be some serious feathering going on right at that moment that you would be passing somebody for the game to think you don't want to come by this person and auto braking to kick in for that millisecond. So that's really what it's there for, is that the game is picking up on that you don't want to go by this rider, actually, that you're lowering your power to a point that but your speed is high enough that it's going, they want to slow down here, and it breaks for you. At least that's my take of what I've experienced with it so far.
Okay. And because we talked last week about whether the TTT was going to be faster. Did you notice it was more efficient or faster or anything like that?
Way more efficient. Extremely more efficient. It was so obvious to the entire team, it seemed to me at least, where to be and when you were pushing people off the wheel, how to make sure you're not pushing people off the wheel. It was one of the smoothest experiences and least frustrating experiences I've ever had in a team time trial, actually. And I have been pretty vocal. I don't know if you've watched me try to because I kind of de-essed a little bit, I think, this past week, and it was just so easy. Like, and everybody was pretty experienced on the team, though. We had a very, very well experienced team, but it was like a couple of calls here, I'm doing this here, and it was all audibles, like boom, 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 and everything just worked so smoothly. And from what I saw in the tests, I don't know if the speeds are going to come down. I have a feeling that the speeds actually might go up because of the extra power that's available in people's legs if they use that power correctly and actually save it. Because if people are able to get in that line, not waste that power, know when they're supposed to go, find a very clear distinction about where they're supposed to be, they're not rolling through on accident as much, there's just going to be more power in legs. And I have a feeling that we're going to set new records, because it seems that from the test that Eric did, the TTT tests showed that the times were actually just the same. They didn't really change much, or might have been even faster.
Okay. I think what I'm liking about PD4 before we go into our this season on Zwift stuff is it does reward those who are interested in it, if that makes sense. So if you really want to nail it and understand it, and you go out and practice, and you practice the Zwift craft that we talked about, it rewards you. So I think that's what I always like about these things, is it may be a really subtle difference. I know that Jen messaged me and was like, I hate PD4. I kept dropping off the pack. And I was like, yeah, you've just got to now completely change your position of like back of the pack is the best place to be to get a draft. And once you do that and practice it, yeah, you get a benefit in game. Like it becomes easier in races and more tactical. So I think, yeah, I like it in general. I have seen a comment come in, which I do agree with, is that I still don't, I think for a proper lead out train, you're going to have to see factors in game like wind, steering, things like that to actually get it like a real proper, like you'd see in a Tour de France stage, like 3 lead out trains across the road. I think like what you said, one is I don't think there's a thing of like a domestique in Zwift. Like I think a lot of the time, if you're up the front at the end of a race, like you've just got to put the watts down. And if you want points, you've just got to all put the watts down, and that just will, the fastest person will win. You've also got power-ups, which will kind of change the dynamic a little bit. So yeah, I'm not sure we're at a point where we will see full blown lead out trains, but maybe a team that's all like relatively similar with their sprint and their power will just naturally form a lead out train because they're moving to the front. I think that could happen.
Yeah, I think you could see. So yeah, I think a single lead out train, I'd agree with that. To have multiple, you would kind of need more of the steering in the lanes, like where people can just like be selective about where they're going to be. Because what you'll end up happening is it rewards you with the wheel if you're producing a little bit more power than another rider. And so you can steal the wheel, but it's still just going to be a solo or two kind of randomly selected lead out trains kind of shuffling with each other. Yeah. So, but if a team is strong enough and they're just willing to put 2 or 3 on the front, wheels 3 and 4 then will be able to sit in and hold that wheel most likely. But they'll have to be putting out more watts than the others. So the ramp up will have to be pretty insane. But if you're stronger than everybody else, then you can create that end save, I think, a little bit when it comes to your team members. Now, I want to pick a little bit of a bone, and I have a problem with churn. I've always had a problem with churn. I think this exasperates that churn is not as good when it comes to TTT methods. If you're wondering what the heck do I mean by churn, I mean the straight line, single file line for where people should be in a team time trial and having a position and then having an order, and then you call an audible about that order if it needs to change throughout, but you're always in a single file line as best as you possibly can be. And then there's a churn that people will use, and there's just like 2 leaders, and then people kind of just change positions behind. From what I saw in the test itself, the idea that churn or single file are equal at this point, I think the tests themselves contradict that, because if you're churning with, and Sauce is showing this as well, your avatar, when it goes to the outside, it like gives you 0% draft. And so every time you churn to the outside, you're losing power that was wasted. And either your team's not going fast enough for your ability level, maybe that has something to do with it too, or you're just wasting power that could have been reserved for your turn at the front. Secondly, if you're churning and it's not your and you're on deck to go to second or first wheel, and you have to move through people, it's harder to move through people now. That's also wasted energy. And because TTTs are all about maximal output throughout the entirety of the team, all the way to the finish line, time to exhaustion, churn is it's just off the table at this point, in my opinion, with PD4. I think single file is just the way to go. I know that might be controversial, but again, this is the update of no more lazy Zwifters. This is the update of you have to pay attention and actually play the game now.
Yeah, I think that's, I agree with that. I mean, I haven't gone out and done a TTT for a while. I sometimes used to do them before the show, but now I'd have to get up at like 4 a.m, so I'm not that dedicated. But I'll be interested to try it at some point. But okay, shall we go into?
Last one. I know there's a lot of PD4 in the packs. The idea of being spat out the back real quickly. You need more depth perception now. We were talking about this morning. I was getting mad at the pack. I was falling off. I did a little recovery ride this morning. And Chris Amin actually came in and was like, oh, yeah, that's happening to me all the time where I'm spat out the back. And I was, you know what? I just have to pay attention to the speed of the avatars that are moving to the back of the pack. If someone's moving to the back of the pack, they used to be able to find this pocket where it would just carry them along. That pocket is gone now. And if you have a backwards motion and your speed is lower, you have to match the speed now and ramp up a little bit. And that pocket for just like gaining bodies to be a part of the pack, it doesn't exist. And so I think now you have to be able to pay attention and see who's coming backwards and go past people pretty quickly so that you don't become a part of their speed and what they're doing backwards. So it's just like in real life now. You got somebody who's dying, you're like, oh my gosh, you can tell that that person's going to lose the wheel and that gap's about to open. You quickly get around them and you don't mess with that anymore. So if you're at the back of the pack now, you can't be free speeding with somebody who's falling backwards or isn't paying attention. There's just more attention there. So I know people are frustrated. I get frustrated with that as well now. But again, what was really funny today, actually, because Zwift is a classic MMO. When you get into a competitive or not even competitive, but an environment where you have to like play a game and you end up with people who are maybe new or just kind of playing casually and it's just whatever. There's a lot of like frustration that ends up happening with noobs. That's where the term noobs came from. Like there's a lot of, and I think that this kind of exposes, and I'm not saying that people don't even do that on purpose. Some people just don't pay any attention in a pack whatsoever, right? They just don't even care, whatever. And, but this I think exposes a little bit more of that. Like people are getting frustrated because it's not PD4's fault. It's people aren't using the game right. Using the good thing well, if that makes sense.
Like hashtag lazy Zwifter. I was a lazy Zwifter. I just chill, right? And you just got to pay attention. It's what I said to Jen, like hashtag lazy Zwifter. Just got to get in the back third of the pack now. Don't sit at the back, get in the back third. Make sure there's people behind you. And when the people drop back, they'll drag them back. So,
100%. All right, well, what else? So that is one of the things in the updates. And that one is actually live. Now, there's some other things.
Nathan, I'm thinking, should we... Because I want to talk about a few of these updates for quite a while.
Okay,
should we
gotcha.
bring on the guests?
So we'll bring on the guests first? It's a good call.
And then talk about all the updates. Because otherwise,
yeah.
I mean, they've been up since 3 a.m. Man, this is a dedicated club. So
they are super, super dedicated, actually. And I could tell in our pre-show chatting with them, pretty awesome to have them on board, actually. So let's just go ahead and jump right into that. So it is going to be Matt Jenkins and Casie Rosie from the Galaxy Cycling Club joining us. And they were on my radar last spring, I think it was, from the TTT. Kind of jumped into the whole race scene, at least for my radar. But I think it was from last October. We'll let them tell you their origin story, though. Matt, welcome to the show. Casie, welcome to the show. Great to see you guys, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. So, let's go ahead and go with Casie first. I'm going to look Casie, ladies first. Just real quickly, let's get origin. We always like to who is Galaxy Cycling Club before, because some people, I don't know who you are if you're living under a rock, but if you don't know Galaxy Cycling Club, one of the coolest kits in game actually recently. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, origin story with Zwift, how you got involved with the Galaxy Cycling Club?
Yeah, sure. So in 2018, I swapped my dumb trainer for a smart trainer. And I was a bit like Anna in this way. I basically tried to collect some really good kit by doing tours and events and that kind of stuff. But I never considered myself good enough to race. I thought, everyone was better than me, and I just wasn't really prepared to sort of put my hat in the ring. And then in late 2021, the Herd ran their Sheeries, which was the all women's event, and it totally piqued my interest. And I was just like, all right, this is sort of less intimidating. It's all women. I want to get on board. And I did. And I wasn't racing for a club. I was just racing by myself. And Cassie Webster from Galaxy Cycle Club jumped into my race chat when I was racing and gave me a few tips, like how to super tuck. I had no idea that even existed. Like, I was a complete beginner. And she basically encouraged me. We got chatting afterwards, and she was like, come join Galaxy. And so here I am racing and riding for them. And fast forward to now, I basically get to spend one night a week, sometimes two, captaining, riding with, or DSing some like seriously awesome humans. One of them is Matt. And I feel really lucky to be part of a crew that week in, week out displays some amazing teamwork. So that's sort of my story. And I guess what appealed to me with Galaxy was that they were incredibly inclusive and there were sort of no dumb questions.
Right on. That's awesome. You're seeing a lot of chat actually coming through over on YouTube as well. A couple of the chat places here. It looks like the team has shown up. They're saying nice hoodie to Matt as well. So Matt, let's hear, how did this, it sounds like you were kind of there from the beginning with Galaxy, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah, maybe a few months after it started, but my Zwift story is probably similar to a lot of people that have been on this show. I sort of had a trainer before the pandemic, but like a lot of people, picked it up, started doing a lot more training on Zwift, and I got to a point where they'd served their purpose for me. So I started looking for social rides, and yeah, I saw the name Galaxy. I thought, yep, I like that. It's like buying a bottle of wine when you don't know what you're looking at. You see a nice fancy label and go, yep, that's for me. So I did a couple of social rides, joined Cassie's Dirt Series team, did really well in that, was really pleased, sort of came out of it thinking, yep, I'm good at this. Signed up for ZRL, realised, yeah, no, I'm not actually that good at this. That was incredibly tough. But started TTing with Cassie every Thursday. Worked my way through doing a lot more social rides, doing a few ride leads, ZRL again. We actually won a division this year, which was pretty cool. Yep. So we've got the Zwift helmet. That was the ZRL helmet. Sorry, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Do you ever take it off, Matt?
I'm on your...
Do you ever take it off, or is it just always on?
No, it came on for two rides, and then I had to put my my Trilby hat back on.
Right on. Matt, real quickly, when I was real quickly, and we'll move on to the next thing. But on the origin of Galaxy, you also mentioned in pre-production that there was a focus on women's cycling actually within the club right up front. Is that, if I'm not, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. So there's three people: John Aiden, Carl Sheriff, and Ollie Hughes. They three guys started the club, but they were pretty clear from the start. They wanted to have an inclusive club, which we've got really. We're sort of 60% men, 40% women. So I've maintained that from the start, but they said about wanting to champion women's riding. And I guess that's why one of the reasons why we're on the pod today, to talk about the women's race series.
Yeah, Cassie, do you want to take this one? As I have seen on Instagram and through the Galaxy kind of channels that there is a women's sort of race. Is it a race specific series coming out? Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Tour de Galaxy, Gemini Stars, and Cassie Webster has put together our first ever race series, and I can tell you excitement is building. The racing starts on May the 2nd, which is a Tuesday at 7 p.m. London time, and that makes it 5 a.m. for me in the Australian Eastern States. It runs for 5 weeks, and we're looking for the best individual and team in each category. Race 1 is a ITT, so an individual time trial. Race 2 is hilly.
And race... Do you know the course, ITT?
Oh gosh, I've got all the
Sorry
details.
To put you on the spot.
No, I know. I could quickly find it, but I'm going to go with race 2 is hilly, race 3 to 5 sort of sprinty. So for the sprinters, I'll send you a link, and you can get all the full details. But basically, we wanted to provide an opportunity again for women to race in a more competitive field, because I find, well, my lived experience is that sometimes racing mixed is a little bit deflating, because I usually get smashed. And basically by hosting a women's only event. We're hoping to attract more women to race, particularly those who haven't raced before. And sure, if you've raced and you're bringing the competition, amazing, we'll be stoked. But we really want to smash that notion of not being good enough, because it has resonated so strongly in our club. And we find that once women get involved, they get hooked. So I'd honestly urge anyone, if they've ever thought about racing, please come and join us. You can race for us, you can race individually, you can race for another club, but just put your foot in, dip your toe in and see if you enjoy it. And while we understand that everyone wants to win, we're a community that supports people basically having a crack, having an effort. And we really hope that this series sort of advocates for that. And
I think, Casie,
to be honest,
I think it's awesome what's happening that I've seen more so. I think this off season compared to last is that there is a lot more of the women's specific events rolling out, which is really good, because the women's race series that's been on that we're talking about earlier in the show, is the numbers are amazing. It's huge. And I think it is showing that, I agree with you, the mixed racing is a little bit deflating. For me, it's kind of, if the race is flat, I'd be lucky to get a top 20 maybe, because you just can't go against raw watts. It's really hard. And also the racing then ends up kind of a bit weird, because you're usually a little bit better on the hills. So you get away, but then you're just caught by this huge, it's just a different dynamic that's not as fun as a whole bunch of women racing together. So I love what you're doing there. It's really cool.
Yeah. So
go ahead, Rat. Go
ahead,
Casie.
Nathan.
You're all good, Casie.
Oh, so I guess I just want to put it out there that this is the first series we've ever run. We don't expect it necessarily to go super smoothly, but stick with us, because we're learning along the way. And if it goes well, we're keen to roll out, I guess, more events. So that's where we're at the moment.
You got a crew, it sounds like, that's excited to start doing some organization. That's awesome. Matt, I want to jump over to you because you're a ride leader. And I just did a quick little search, and the hashtag Galaxy within the Zwift tags brings up, I'm seeing D category, C category rides that look like they're organized rides specifically to keep everything together. 1.6 to 2.5, 2.3 to 2.7. You got Galaxy Draft Monkey. I don't know what the Draft Monkey exactly. I liked it that it's called Draft Monkey. It looks like you've got Galaxy Winter 100. You've got a 75. I mean, there's a lot of different rides that you're running throughout the week, actually. So it isn't just this series that you're doing. It sounds like you've also got group rides as a club as well.
Absolutely, and that was one of the things when we started as well, that we identified there's a gap in that sort of market. Low Cat D, low Cat C, and I think initially we had one public ride. We've got 16 going every week now.
Ooh.
And big. There's a lot of options. Some of them are your typical cool down social ride, but a lot of them, like Draft Monkey, it's almost like a guided training ride. It's like a mix of a Zwift program and then your social ride. So you'll have Draft Monkey, for example, a ride where it's geared towards helping people draft, not in a sterile sort of, you must do this, you must do that. It just happens as part of the ride, and you pick up the ability to get better at drafting. There's one called Loosey Goosey, which is more of a cool down ride, still pretty involved with the ride leader. We do one, the volcano climb. That's probably my favorite one. You'll start going round up the pace every lap, have a rest, and then there's a hare goes off the front, and the whole pack has to race, work together, and try and chase that rider down. Sometimes he gets caught. Yeah, quite often he doesn't. So it's a really good mix of rides. Yeah, it's a good ride to do. Really good ride to do.
I might try that one actually. So I did jump in so I could get the jersey into one of the D category like guided workouts using sort of terrain and everything. Yep. And like I just want to say, like the leaders on that were awesome because that is a really hard format to get. I've tried it myself and I really struggle. So they did so well because you have to keep everyone together, but then you're also doing sort of intervals, right? And intervals tend to make everyone just split because everyone gets competitive. But I don't know how they did it, but it kind of just the whole group stayed together the entire time. And there were people like me who just like jumped in for a bit of fun and, you know, didn't have the experience with it. So I loved that style of workout because what happens is, you know, traditionally you do that workout with the bar on the left-hand side. You can see what's coming up. And sometimes you get into a bit of clock watching because you're like, oh, how many stars do I have? And oh, it's only been 20 minutes. This one, there wasn't that. So the hour like went like that and you finish and we're like, oh, I've just done like an interval session and it was enjoyable, you know?
And that's the beauty of those rides because it's interactive with the ride leader talking to the group over you know, the message system, throwing out a couple of jokes, getting people involved. I can tell you from experience, like when it works, it's fantastic. It does take a lot of practice and it takes a lot of communication within the ride team, having sweepers off the back, making sure people are pulled back. And it also requires, you know, the support of the people in the ride, especially the people on the front. But yeah, when it works really well.
What is the sand? Okay, you have all these names. I like that they have, and it seems like they have a specific theme with each one. Is that right then? Like if I'm getting this right,
kind of.
Because that's a thing that definitely attracts people when you create like a cultural theme around a ride that's really specific to how they identify with riding, you know, in some sort of way. And so I'm wondering, one of them that caught my eyes, I just want to know, to give an example, is Galaxy Sandbreakers. Like, what's that all about?
That's so sandbaggers, which is, you know, a negative term, I guess you could say. It's just a name to attract people's attention, and it's worked because we're talking about it now. They all have the ability as well, the ride leaders within each of those rides, to mix it up, keep it fresh. But yeah, that name is like a flashing neon sign. What's this ride? Hang on, I'll go check this out.
Gotcha. I need to join the Sandbaggers ride to go yell at somebody. So, go ahead.
So, question there, like, of course, I'm going to direct it this way, but Galaxy fashion. So I can see you've got your hoodie on. I can see, I think, Cassie, is that a Galaxy little hat in the background as well on your bike?
It is a teeny tiny hat.
So the Galaxy, like, one, have you been contacted by Cadbury yet for using their trademark purple? In case the American listeners don't know, Cadbury is a chocolate brand that has that purple, and they are so fiercely
that's one we do know. That is one we do know, actually.
Oh, so, okay. There we go.
Yeah, for sure.
So who came up with the color? And, you know, you said, Matt, at the start that it was the sort of the look that actually drew your attention to the club. So obviously the brand identity is like pretty important. So how did that all come about? Who's the designer there?
So that wasn't done by myself or Cassie, but like any club of this size, you have people who, you know, can bring their real world skills as well. So there's members who are graphic designers. You know, I mean, I work in air conditioning, so it's not a skill that translates to kit design, but someone who's a graphic
everyone
designer.
Needs to cool on the bike, Matt. Like we need you. Oh my gosh, do we need you in this house?
Me and Cassie are set. We've both got aircon, so we're all good. Yeah, but so I think that the purple and it. You know, on my hoodie you can't really see, but the actual in real life kit and the kit in game has like a meteor shower on. It's trying to just keep in theme with the name, but basically someone who's smarter than me came up with it is what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So quickly, I want to then jump into the series and like where people can find you, because it seems there's actually a Galaxy Strava club. So you can find your Strava club, it looks like, on each of the events you put on at the bottom. It looks like there's a link So you can find your Instagram there. It looks like you got a Strava club, and then the main way I'm assuming right now is the Facebook group. Is that right then?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Facebook companion app.
Cassie, go ahead.
No, yeah, so Matt said it all. So Facebook is the biggest way to get in contact with us. Encourage you to join that way. And also as well on the group companion, on the Zwift companion app is the other way. And there is an email, but definitely get in touch via Facebook. It's probably the easiest way.
Gotcha. And are you guys recruiting? Matt, go to Matt now. Are you
Absolutely.
like you're open to members and stuff, and like you want people to come in?
Absolutely. I mean, we want to grow the club moving forward. We sort of see ourselves maintaining that balance, hopefully, between male and female riders. But we
Yeah,
we
you're saying
need to
it's like
grow the club as
60-40
well.
right now, right? I mean, that's a pretty.
Yeah,
That's a good.
60-40. I think that's above average, really, across the platform. It's fair to say.
It's above average.
Yeah.
I mean, even for Zwifting, like Zwift in itself, early on, it was under 10%, and then I think they've bumped it up to. I don't know what the numbers are currently. I think they got over 20, closer to 30 at this point. So, in general, you're above the. You're way above the average for general public. So, really good.
Can I just
Yeah,
ask?
and it's not
Jump
just
in
about
with
having.
Oh, sorry, Matt. I might just jump in with a question here, and maybe Cassie go first, and then Matt, because there's just some chat that comes in every week when we have a Zwift club on. So I'll start with you, Cassie. But so it's purely volunteer. You guys have full-time jobs. You're up at 3:30 in the morning to come on this podcast. I know for Cassie, the women's events for you will be at 5 in the morning, so it's probably getting up at 4:30. I mean, where is the motivation for this? Like, what is driving each of you to do this? Because this is a big commitment outside of just general life. So, Cassie, you go first.
I think, I feel really lucky to be part of a community. I just race with some really amazing people and have just formed some, in real life friendships. I actually met Matt for the first time. We're in different states. I met Matt for the first time at Tour Down Under, like earlier this year. And sort of working per se for good people is really easy. And if it means that someone gets to achieve something, or like I have a small hand in that, that's like how brilliant that. Because I've been supported on my journey, why not support people on their journeys?
That's awesome, Matt.
Yeah,
What about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. Like, I enjoy the giving back element, especially doing some of the lower cat rides and getting people involved, answering their questions. But I think when you race with the same people week in, week out, there's that level of camaraderie, and you feel like you're missing out if you're not racing, and you'll be checking your phone to see how everyone's going, what are the race results. And like Cassie said, when it's something that you enjoy, it doesn't really feel like a job. It's actually easy.
Really speaks to the passion. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And when obviously that kind of excitement around a team, you do it for the community, and that's of the community that you're developing too, and that you're a part of. I mean, that's some of the best reward that you can possibly get. It's really cool to hear you guys. I'm really excited to see how this race series goes. Everybody, if you want to jump in with that, make sure to head on over to their Facebook group. It's pretty easy. Galaxy Cycling Club. Like I said, any of their events has the links to anywhere that you can find them. Their Strava Club, their Instagram, as well as the Facebook. Obviously, is going to be the main place where you're going to get some group interaction, it looks like. But I really appreciate you guys getting up very early in Australia to come on to the program, and we're excited to see you out in the race events, and maybe we'll have to jump into some of this racing as well as these group rides real soon. Appreciate it, you too.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Take care. Well, that's the passion. When you bring that passion side of things out, Anna, that question was really great at the end there. I really, really liked it, because what the heck? You're up at 3:00 in the morning for this video game. What are you doing? Like, why are you doing? And then it like dawns on me how invested and you know what I mean? How much value people are getting out of these clubs and these interactions through this game.
Oh, it's amazing. Like when I was messaging Matt being like, oh, you're in Australia. Like, I know it's early for me. And I was like, I know you're 2 hours behind us. So this is like really early for you. He's like, no, that's all good. I was like, wow, like I love this, but man, I don't even know if I'd be that dedicated. Like, I don't know, sleep trumps a lot of things for me. So yeah, it's impressive. And also just, I also really like what's happening in the community so there's the Zwift Ladies League happening, but now the Galaxy one is basically straight after that. So what used to happen, I think, is and I think James Bailey has had a lot to play in this, is there's been it used to be the events would just all fall on top of each other after the Zwift Racing League. Like everyone would be so desperate. So you'd have like 2 women's series on at the same time, and then that just splits the fields, and the fields are small and no one likes it. So this is also, I think that's what we're seeing with big numbers. And then straight after that women's series, you can go do the Galaxy series, and you can kind of start to have those familiar races having a set point in the calendar. So there's been really good work in that space to like promote women's racing as opposed to kind of poach it in all different places.
100%. And I think James is bringing him on for that kind of organization. I think was one of the things for sure there, and I think that's been done pretty dang well actually. And I'm glad that they've done that, because scrambling to be on the calendar and kind of having that infighting. You know, there is community management that has to happen still. So everybody's still happy, right? So, well, okay. There's a lot to talk about here. And
yes, updates.
Because this season on Zwift, Zwift has been doing this press release for this season on Zwift, and it goes out probably twice a year, maybe 3 times a year or so. And now we've just gotten the most recent one that goes through the summer. And I'm pretty excited about what we're about to see here. We talked about PD4. That's already live. The rest of what we're going to be talking about is not, well, there's the spring training series that is live that just launched. But then there's some in-game features, and that's always what we're looking for, right? Not just
oh my gosh,
content's cool, the content's cool, but what's the features? What are the actual updates that are coming? So Anna, I'm going to go on teleport first. Is that cool?
Oh, okay, cool. And first I want to say as well that us Southern Hemispheres used to be the forgotten cousins that like summer would hit in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's like, sweet, no, and like almost Zwift, like, I don't know, they almost embraced it. It was like, sweet, no one's on Zwift anymore, so good luck out there, like, whatevs, you won't hear from us, and you'd kind of just be doing your own thing. Whereas now it's like, yes, we've got some like cool stuff coming up. And I want to say too that the email I got will have been different to yours, because my one was like,
really?
because mine said like indoor season is coming up. So I think the Southern Hemisphere's ones was like, hey, you're about to hit indoor season, let's go. Whereas your one would have been something like stay fit for outdoor, so that's quite good too. So we felt a bit of love here in the winter Southern Hemisphere.
Pay attention now. I mean, one of the reasons that these bigger updates hit at this time, I think, is to kind of test things out when things are a little bit quieter, when there's like major changes. And then rather than doing like a really major change that is maybe experimental with some of this stuff, right when everybody's coming into the platform and maybe a lot of new people, and then they go, well, it's just broken by if something wasn't working. They can do a lot of testing over the summer to see how things land with people. So our summer. So your winter becomes all the new stuff. You get all the cool things coming in. All right. So teleport. This is what it's going to look like. Check this out. So there's going to be an update to the bar that you can pop up, the action bar that can pop up. And this new little icon here that's being pointed at, when you hit that, it brings up the PacerBot groups. And you're able to jump to somewhere else out on the within the world here to find somebody that you want to ride with. That, as far as the PacerBot, if you're currently with, I don't know, cadence is too fast or too slow, you want to ramp it up, you're going to go hang out with Constance, this is pretty awesome because I find it very frustrating when I want to swap pacer bots that I have to have a whole new activity on Strava or on my companion app. I've got to log out, log back in, mess around, and bam, I can just like continue on. And it's gonna be a single activity actually. Like it's not gonna create an entirely new activity. Now there is gonna be in your Strava map a line that real quickly just like jumps across over to another section of the world quickly, but that's no big deal to me on that one at all. A lot of people I've heard like a little bit of like, oh my gosh, like watch out for that. I don't think that that's a big deal. This is definitely worth it for this, regardless of that little line that might be on your Strava profile.
Yeah, I'm loving this. Sorry, I'm in and out because my 3-year-old wants to get his smart trainer out. So there we go.
Well, he saw the teleport feature and was like, come on, Mom.
Let's get on. Let's teleport together. This is so at the moment that's just showing the what do you call it? The Pacerbot one, which is cool. To be fair, I probably don't use Pacerbots a huge amount, but I am excited about I got really excited about the rider teleport, like teleporting with your friends, because that is what I want all the time, because I'll be riding and I'll see it pop up that somebody started Zwift and I was like, I wonder where they are. And now I have to get out and then go back and ride with them. So that is awesome. And actually, speaking of my son who was here bringing out his smart trainer, we do some rides together. And I actually just realized I couldn't invite him to a club meetup because he's under 16. He's 3. And so I didn't realize that was a rule. And hopefully maybe I can join him on this. But yeah, I could just say, hey, let's go ride. And then I'll just come join you once I've got you set up. So this one I really like. The robo paces, I can see if you use them a lot, that would be awesome too. And I do like their point that you could start, a good way to do a warm up, start with the D, move up to the C, kind of make it a really graduated ride and then maybe warm back down again. But yeah, for me, it's the mid-ride friends teleport that I really enjoy, especially if you've got a friend on there and they're like often this will happen, hey, I'm riding around, I'm going to go do a effort up Epic climb. And you're like, oh my God, where am I? How do I go join you? And now you can go boom, I'll join you right at the bottom of the climb.
That problem that's actually a pretty big one that I can't just quickly go and get to somebody. And remember one of the biggest come on Zune situations was the fact that the ride with friends on the main menu was gone. And now it's okay.
Yes.
Now if somebody's just logging in and you're chatting on Discord or they message you, oh yeah, I just logged in. Pop, pop, bam, you're with your buddy. And you don't have, because before trying to log out or then go and ride to go find them, totally a great feature. Absolutely agree with you. And with Zwift being mainly about a social thing, those social connections being easy and not frustrating, that solves this problem.
I'm going to be riding with Matthew van der Poel a lot. I'll see him pop up. I'll be like, oh, I'll ride with him. Yay. This is awesome. What's he up to out there?
So, okay, what is this? So, coffee stop?
Oh, yeah. That's come through as quite a few people's favorites.
Really?
Aaron Bleakley came through right at the start and said, yep, I like the coffee stop.
Interesting.
Have you ever heard of the mum flat? I got introduced to that when I started Zwifting. Yeah. So the mum flat was your child has started crying, or just like this, they come down into the pain cave and they're like, I want a muesli bar. And you're like, oh my gosh, really right now you want it? And so I see this as a great mum feature as well, is that you can just hit the coffee stop, run up, get the kids sorted, come back down again. Or even just run upstairs and check on them. Often they'll be upstairs and it kind of in the back of my mind, I'm like, I hope they're okay. I haven't heard from them in a bit, So you can just be like, oh, I'll just coffee stop and run up and check. So I see myself using this all the time for that reason.
100%. Let's take a quick look at it, exactly what it looks like. This is actually coming in from Zwift Insider. But here's what it looks like. It'll be on the action bar down below. Hit coffee stop. Boom. Okay. bam, your coffee stop is like a power up there. You see that? Now this is when
Oh
you
my
first
gosh.
join.
Yes. Oh, that's so exciting. A coffee power up. That is epic.
So you just continue riding along with the pace that you were at there with the group. Pretty cool. So
now does the
now you
coffee
can get
stop,
up to
does it-
3
does it-
minutes. So this is the first 30 seconds. Like you can do that like at the start of your ride. I think it's a 30-second. I got to get the exact details again. I there's two different ones. There's one that you can do like for up to, I think it was like
3
2
minutes.
or 3 minutes, 3 minutes.
But only every hour?
half hour or hour,
half
something
hour.
like, yeah. So that's the way that works. The first one,
it
though,
looks
is
as
only
though-
30 seconds. That's why that one was 30 seconds when you first start
Gotcha.
your ride.
Okay. And I think, fingers crossed, you get the coffee power up above
You
your
get the
head.
coffee power up, yeah.
Oh my God, that's so
So
exciting.
everybody, so I asked actually the devs about this and was like, so you can essentially like just have everybody taking a coffee stop for 3 minutes and it's just a pack of coffee stoppers? And they were like, we don't know, but when it launches, do that. Let's see. So like, I am so gonna like create like a group ride where we're all like coffee stop and try and get a video of like all of the power ups over the head like that going. Like that would be so cool.
Oh my
I don't know
gosh,
if it
that is
I want to
so
know if
good.
it shows up for the other person. So that's something I didn't ask actually. If that only shows like, you know how, or if it shows up for everybody like a power up, that'd be so cool. Cause that was from a first person perspective. But from a third-person perspective of everybody watching, to see a whole group of people essentially
my
just
gosh, so
hanging
cool.
out in a virtual coffee shop.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Like I kind of loved it, and now I love it so much more that there's a power up for it. I just think it looks so great. So yeah, I think most people see this as really functional because there's other things that happen a lot. Like I got a remote control fan for this very reason that I always forget to turn my fan on, and then precariously trying to lean the bike over to touch the fan, and then it was just so dangerous. Or like often like I'll look and be like, I forgot to put on chamois cream, or like I forgot to put that gel on my like trainer desk. Whoopsie, And so often
Totally.
I'd just like jump off in a downhill when people were super tucking and just be like, oh, off I get, grab it, and then jump back on really stressfully and try and get back on again. So this is, like good job, Zwift, because I see this as really functional. Like
Super
it's
functional.
just good.
I agree 100%. Yeah, these are absolutely awesome. Now they can't be used during races, guys. Everybody, like it's not like the coffee. There's no coffee stops in races. Okay, like people, like some people are gonna want like, wait, what about you just get free watts? Like there would be some people like, oh, man, there's always that person that's like, harden up. You don't need a coffee stop. Whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
But I think as well, like you wouldn't want it in a race for the fact of it would just keep you at standard watts, right? So I'm picturing like, say you're on Richmond course and you set a coffee stop and then everyone goes up Libby Hill. Like you'll come back and be like, where is everybody? So
assuming the person left their computer. I mean,
yeah. True.
Yeah. I've had plenty of coffee stops on the downhill of London. Was always the best course if you needed a break, right? Like if you're on Box Hill, get the downhill going. Now though, with PD4, super tucks aren't necessarily going to be happening as easily, and people can attack on downhills. Everything has changed, so we need the coffee stop now.
Yes,
All right.
Need it.
All right, so 2 more things. There's a spring training series that just came out. They are group workout events. They're scheduled hourly each week, actually. There's a whole list of them. Zwift.com/events/series/Zwift Spring Training 2023. You can find that over on ZwiftInsider.com. That article that just got released. So that's pretty cool to see. Looks like there's an aerobic rev up, some really hard FTP boosters, some tempo with also some pretty hard anaerobic efforts in there, and then some over-unders and beyond. VO2 blast and a final send. This looks like a pretty serious training plan, actually. As far as a series of workouts goes, I could definitely see somebody using these on a weekly basis to get some good fitness. So I'm liking these. They don't look easy. Just so you guys know, like sometimes I've seen criticism of like, oh, that's not very organized, whatever. These look like real proper training, actually, when I'm taking a look at these.
Yeah, I had a look at them in detail last night. And the last one, I think, of the series looks like the Gorby. Like it's just that
The VO2 blast? Are you talking about VO2 blast?
VO2 blast. Like it's 3 minutes, just kind of effort, and then each effort gets harder and harder. Yeah, I looked at that and went,
it looks like Gorby, but doable. It looks like Gorby, but doable, because Gorby's not even doable. It's like a fail workout.
Yeah. This is I think these are all good. I like that they're because I saw some questions coming in onto the Zwift Insider article on these is, can I do multiple a week? And Eric was like, do you want to? Because I think these look perfect for there's one that is released a week. I think just hit that as your one workout that week. Like, don't be fooled by the TSS score if you monitor those, because they're short. The TSS score could be a bit lower than you think, but they're hard. So I personally would just do one a week, and I might supplement it with like a bit more easy either side. So if the workout's 44 minutes, you could make it an hour and a half by just having an extended warm up into the workout and then a longer cool down after is kind of how I would do these.
Last thing, but maybe my favorite of what I saw on the releases actually is this climbing portal. Now, we don't really have any pictures or anything. The only thing we have is the picture that came through in the press release that kind of like shows, it's just an image of, I think, the Alpe d'Huez Zwift like course profile. So I don't think we've seen anything that actually looks like any kind of serious update on what it will look like in game. But the feature itself is here, Climb Portal. You're actually going to head on over to a place in the world. And the idea here with the Climb Portal is there's going to be a portal that launches for a set period of time. And during that set period of time, you can go in and experience this epic climb. So the idea seems to be that because one of the things that competitors of Zwift are like, well, we produce in real life
magic roads.
Magic roads. Yeah. Roads that are specifically like the exact place that you want to go ride. Now, but they tend to like quantity over quality it, in my opinion. Like that's not very attractive to me actually. But if there were like a couple that were on some sort of a schedule that everybody was doing and everybody's kind of competing at the same time with, I think that's the idea. And in some of our meetings actually I referenced World of Warcraft portals, because when expansions would come to World of Warcraft, a couple of them had a portal you had to go through to get into the expansion, and it didn't open up until a specific time. And so you literally had the entire server sitting there and waiting, interacting in chat, talking. And it's like, in World of Warcraft, you have the Horde and the Alliance, and they're enemies. And if it's in an area that you can fight, that people are just killing each other. Like, it's just nuts. Like, it's just this whole whatever.
Oh my God.
It was a lot of fun. And then it would open up and everybody goes in, and all of a sudden it's this new experience. And it's like, and it's the anticipation for this new experience in game that everybody gathers around. It creates an event. I think this is an amazing idea, and you're going to get a new game experience to climb with people. And I think with that Alpe d'Huez Zwift that we did, that event, I think it's kind of going to get that same feeling of that community, go get it and compete with each other and push each other.
Yeah, I think the part of this that's piqued my interest, one is that someone in the article made a really good point, is that the first two, being Col de Tourmalet and Col d'Aspin, they are two climbs that are in one of the stages in the Tour de France. So I would imagine it'll get released around July time to coincide potentially with that stage, because the fact that they chose those two, you could go, I imagine, go in and do them back to back and like emulate the stage, right? Okay, the parts that piqued my interest is that it will be a completely new visual experience. Now, I've seen like a lot of commentary on what this could be. I think one end of the spectrum is someone said like, is it Rainbow Roads and Mario Kart? So like crazy, like just totally different experience, like just visually very gamey. And then the other side, as you've said, it'll be a whole lot of like rock number 6 and tree number 3. So like that would be more what we see in other platforms with the magic roads, where it's just this auto-generated landscape that looks the same the whole time. So, and could be a vast array of anything in the middle. So I don't know if visual experience is so much like the environment, or maybe it's something kind of like what they do. Like if you look, I had a bit of a think about this last night. Which climb is more popular in Zwift? Is it Mont Ventoux or is it Alpe de Zwift?
Alpe de Zwift,
it's
100%.
Alpe de Zwift.
Yeah.
And then I think, like, what is it about Alpe de Zwift? Because the environments, like, there's not a huge difference between what the game looks like. But I think Alpe de Zwift has a couple of things. One, it's got a different visual experience because it's got all your stats for every switchback. So every switchback, you can kind of compete with yourself. Like last one I rode at 240 watts. This one I want to ride at 245. The other thing is you get the spinny disc thing at the top, and there's a badge to it. So if you do it 25 times, you get the masochist badge. So there's a lot more motivation to go do it. Like if I'm going to go do a climb, I'm going to do Alpe de Zwift for those reasons. Like I want the wheels, I want to compete on the corners, and I want to get this masochist badge. I very rarely do Mont Ventoux. Like I find it really boring. So I'm kind of interested to see how this looks. Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't know if you have an idea about what a new visual experience would be. And also it says that they'll get to test themselves with other riders. So is that just cool? It's open, and like, is there a jersey? Is there going to be segment times? Is this where they're going to launch a bit more of that leaderboard functionality? So there's an actual leaderboard that we saw them release a while back, which is more just against yourself. But is this going to be against other riders? So yeah, I'm really interested.
Yeah, I think Alpe de Zwift was the precursor, I have a feeling, to something that's going to be even more souped up than, because when you enter Alpe de Zwift, you actually, this was a struggle in broadcast actually, early on when Alpe de Zwift first came out. We realized when we were in broadcast, oh, this is like a new mode the game's in. Oh, we can't interact with this the same way. We need something that'll help us interact with this the same way to get the views that we need, etc. So like, if you notice when you enter Alpe de Zwift, the game changes into like a different mode. You have the different time segments and it looks a little different. I even think it might look different too, as like you're in a climb. And so like to get that feel of being in this climb, you might get a different experience there as well. I wouldn't say that it's out of this world though, that sometimes it may be, this is just conjecture, but I wonder if, it's also going to have some things that could bring in, we had that mountain bike course, you remember, like that was released, the Repack Ridge.
Yeah,
so like,
Repack Ridge.
Sometimes maybe, because the cool thing about this is, since it's a portal that opens up once in a while, they can go work on something and give you a new experience, and then go work on something and give you a new experience, and get, you know what I mean? It's not going to be like, oh, hey, Ocean Boulevard. Ocean Boulevard's always the same. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be, they can add whatever. So one of the time it might be just like an experience that's more like the Alpe de Zwift but souped up, or another time it might be that and something different, or you have to use who knows what. There could be so many different things there, but I have a feeling that this is going to be a really great test arena as well for things like that. So
I like it. I really like it.
I want one more I really, really like a lot is this player highlight. And I think it seems inconsequential. It seems small, but immediately here's where my head went immediately about this. I'm just going to show it to you really quickly here. And player highlight looks like this. And player highlight is for friends that are riding with you in the group that you're in, or it sounds like, I don't know. I think they may go toward club members. It could go toward maybe, where you can create a team, I would think here. Now, this is all my conjecture, everybody, but like this player highlight ability, if you're able to create different colors with that, right? So like, let's say your team club, in your club, you highlight your club teams as blue, a certain color blue within it. And then your team members only highlight that blue. right? And so when you're with them in a pack, you can identify exactly who they are. And if this functionality is then turned on across an entire event, you could do all kinds of things with player highlight. You could like all the clubs have their own little glow, just a little bit to know. Or if like, let's say they glow just really, really slightly, but if they attack, they glow a little bit more and they're in another color. So then you know, like OTR's jersey is red. They are glowing just a little bit. And then if they start attacking, oh, he's attacking, it's glowing really red. Like, and I know I can go because identifying things in a pack of pixels is really, really difficult as compared to in real life. In real life, you can really see what's going on a lot better. And so I think crossing that gap of interaction of what's happening with people's control and power and responding to that, I think also view 3, because people use view 1 out of fear. Like, it's a fear thing. They don't know I want to know what's going on around me. And I'm like, the other day when I was DSing, I was like, you don't actually know any more about what's going on around you. You feel like you do, but it doesn't really help that much. You have to have view 9 or something. So anyways, me and Gabby were talking about that. And I think the player highlight will create a lot more information for you to have if it's able to be utilized this way. Now up front, you guys, this is all my conjecture. I'm hoping it goes this way because I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that could happen in the background with the gamification here. And when I say, and this is also awesome because I think that term of gamification has been really, really misunderstood. It's always been understood as Mario Kart. This is gamification. This is being able to interact with a virtual world with your power and with your avatar in a way that is able to play the game. And just this little bit of a highlight feature, it's gamification that makes sense to cycling. You have to put those two together, and then boom, you've hit a jackpot there.
Yeah, I immediately went to this is great for broadcasting because you can highlight riders. Because I know in like the broadcasting you would see for like UCI Worlds, they would highlight a rider and everyone else would fade a little bit, which I actually didn't like that much. And I did actually think it would be better if it was the reverse, like they highlighted a player and that player was a bit highlighted as opposed to everyone fading, because then you kind of lose the feel of the race. So I like, from a broadcasting point of view, this feature. I guess what I went to first was like, I wonder how it will actually technically work. Like, can you just quickly click a button that goes, I want to see highlighted riders, or is it always highlighted? Or, so I kind of want to know that detail a little bit more. It does say that it does highlight your avatar as well as Zwifters you follow and any ride leaders. So, I'm kind of intrigued with this one. Like, I'm not like super pumped about it, but it could be one of those ones that comes out and then I use it all the time because I immediately see. So yeah, I think that's good. Before we go to the close too, I did want to highlight club keep everyone together.
Totally.
Yeah, this is one that I'm actually like, again, similar to Coffee Stop, functionally, this is amazing because I run a club event each week and we do workouts, which is cool, but it's a bit manual. And we can't do like a ride to the terrain because everyone will split because we just have a huge variation in power profiles. So I do like this because the first thing I'll do is I'll set our workout and I'll be like, we're going to do a workout on, say, Legends and Lava. Now we're all going to be banded together, but I want your highest power output on all the climbs because you've got that. I think that was one of those Zwift Academy ones. You do a 15-second effort, a 3-minute effort, and a 7-minute effort. So it's a fun workout using terrain and keeping everyone together. So I'm glad that this functionality is coming out because it will be really good for club events.
100%. It's a good it's one of those, quality of life features that isn't like, whoa, this new portals and all this stuff, but it's one of those things that like you deal with on a daily basis trying to organize things on Zwift that just solves a lot of issues with just the reality of riding in a virtual world. So it's a really big step forward. And I like it that there's a lot of focus in on club functionality because it's only going to enhance that social experience, which really is what I think ties people to the platform with what we're seeing with all of these awesome interviews that we've been having for the last couple of weeks. Also, everybody, I want to give a huge shout out to Anna because she organizes the guests mainly and she's pulling out about she's finding all these diamonds. Like, this is absolutely awesome. All these awesome community members that we're able to hear from. Very, very cool. A little bit of chat from Christopher Schwenker real quick.
I saw that.
About the visually impaired riders, that this could actually be a big thing when it comes to the highlighted riders, avatars, that it could help out with visually impaired perhaps. So that's pretty cool. Also, I did just seeing Christopher out there. The Zemina K just had a really cool article on antihistamine as we're heading into spring here.
Oh.
Really interesting, actually, the findings. Now, I commented on it. That's a whole nother thing to go into. We go in depth on that, but that was an interesting article. I definitely, because I have had allergy issues for a long time. It's really impacted my professional racing in some ways, and we've put in huge amounts of effort to try and fix it and solve it in all different kinds of ways. After reading the thing on antihistamine, it makes me want to go back to maybe the shots, even though it's really expensive here in the U.S. But in order to eliminate your allergies, you can do desensitize from it. But I'm hoping that I just growing out of them. We'll see. Because yesterday went out and it wasn't so bad. But anyways, that was a big bunny.
So I saw that article too. So the funny thing was, it was at like 5 a.m. before I did the Zwift ladies race, and I was just kind of scrolling, and I literally had downed some antihistamine because, again, like, change of season here, and I'm like, I even sound stuffed up now, and I was like, oh gosh, like, I feel terrible, I have some antihistamine, and then I saw that article. It was like,
how do I flush this out of my system? How do I?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not even going to read this because I don't want to know if that's impacted my performance. I'm just going to go with like, no read.
Well, you opened the box here, so I went into the article that was referencing there, and it is very clear. Like, I mean, it is so clear across these tests that they did on, I think, 5 different levels that his antihistamine impacts your long-term benefits in performance, like big time, and recovery, actually. And so I was like, whoa, this is a big deal. Then I read how much antihistamine they were giving them. So they were giving 3 times the OTC, over-the-counter recommendation, actually, for H1 blockers. So H1 is one pathway for histamine, and then there's H2, which is another pathway for blocking histamine in your body, which is like loratadine, I'm pretty sure, is the H2 one.
Yes,
and then they were giving Fexida, I don't know how to say, fexinidine or whatever the heck it is, the Allegra, that one. They were doing both of them. So they're doing, like, I think it was 50 milligrams and then 540 milligrams of Fex. I take 180 of Fex to when I went. So I was like, so I gave some feedback a little bit on the article, and I was like, hey, not like, I think that it's obvious just how much of an impact does that actually have, because the percentages were kind of crazy when it comes to how much it was affecting. And I was actually thinking, whoa, I always thought it was the allergies that kept me from being really fast in April, May, and June. And then suddenly in July and August and September, I felt like my real me and my racing would come out. And I felt like I could really train, and I felt like I really get benefit and everything. The amount of lack of recovery that you get from taking antihistamine. Now read the article. He's clear. Like, if a doctor's telling you to do something, I am not a doctor. I'm not saying you should change anything, whatever, but it was like, whoa, like we're talking 18 to 20% increases in fitness areas.
So is that
where you're not getting it at all in other areas if you're taking antihistamine. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
So that's why Gabby beat me in the sprint then. Because I took that.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with your drafting ability. It has nothing to do with your power.
Nothing to do with my training.
You took that.
I took my child's dose of antihistamine.
It actually doesn't impact your performance on the day. It impacts your recovery and your long-term, because the histamine actually does something with the stress responses, not the actual ability to create stress and to go hard. It impacts the stress responses and your ability to recover. So anyways,
there we go.
There's coaching for the day. Now, again, I did not say do not take your antihistamine. Go talk to your doctor first. 100%. All right, fashion time. Here we go. What are these all about? These are both really interesting, Anna. Like, look at them side by side. I'm like, what is going on?
So the cookie fondo, one of my favorite parts about doing just like the pacer bots actually is seeing all the different jerseys out there. And I saw one, and they always catch my eye because I'm like, what is that? Like, and I had to go check like the Zwift Insider, all the level unlocks, because I was like, is there a cookie unlock? Because there's all those food unlocks, right? There's like the coffee and the avocado and the donuts. And I was like, is there a cookie one? I've never noticed that. There's not. So then I Googled like cookie Zwift jersey, and it was from a Phil Guyman ride like a couple of years ago doing a fondo, and you unlocked the jersey. So it's one of those like little precious gems where I don't think the jersey actually looks particularly great. Like a lot of people didn't score it high. A lot of people actually prefer the avocado jersey, interestingly enough. But it's a little gem because you just can't get it anymore. So when you see it, it's pretty rare. So I liked that one.
I want to highlight that Phil jumped on the Zwift train, Phil Guyman, and this cookie fondo. I think it was around COVID or a little bit prior, and like he was not really a virtual cycling dude up front, actually. Like he was, and I remember being on Twitter, like kind of fighting, not like fighting with him, but being like, "Come on, like get on the train here, dude. This is cool. Let's go."
Yeah.
And then I saw this shift in Phil a little bit where he was like, "Wait a second. People die on the bike, and maybe they don't want to be out in traffic, and that's okay." And there's people who, and I saw his soft side come out a little bit about like, oh, wait a second, like this is actually a really real deal solution. And I think his main response up front was to like the racing, and maybe he's not cool with virtual racing as much as in real life racing. Who knows, whatever. But like, I really like to see that. And then next thing you know, I saw him running a ride, and I think it was during COVID or something, as well as when he was jumping on with the jukebox crew and all that. And I was like, oh, cool. Awesome to see. So yeah, really, really cool to see in game. And you know what? I gave it a 7. I gave it a 7 because it's cookies, because it's Phil, and also because Monolith Keller is always associated with cookies. So that's why I gave it a 7. Otherwise though, I don't know about it from a fashion point of view, though. How did it do?
It got lowish. Like I'd say 6.5. Like I don't think many people would like choose to wear it, but I think it's just novel. And those food ones are a bit gimmicky, so not many people like them in general. But I think it was just a bit different. Now, the bike, that was kind of like an interesting one, right? So this is from the Garage Pick of the Week. This was an April Fool's 2020. Now, most people, I don't remember the bike, but I think most people will remember that they logged onto the game and thought that there was an issue with Zwift. Like, I think they had the most tickets they've ever had because people were like, what is wrong with the screen? It was like that 1980s game screen, and it was all flickering, and people hated that. And I think because they hated that so much, they didn't notice maybe, and I didn't notice, that there was a crazy bike that was in your garage. This April Fool's 2020, people called it the Minecraft bike. So a bit of a shout out there, and a bit of a notice that there was no Zwift April Fools this year. Unless I completely missed it.
I think that was the Paperboy bike. You could play Paperboy. Yeah, so you could play Paperboy in game actually too, which I wish they would bring that back. Like that was one of the best April Fools ever, that you could go and find a place out on Zwift to play Paperboy is the coolest thing ever. I absolutely loved this one. That was one of my I think fondest like little Zwift, like way better than me turning into a dinosaur in the middle of a ride and I can't see what the heck's going on around me. We should be playing we should like go through an arch and everybody can like throw Paperboy stuff at each other. I don't know, or like Road Rash. Suddenly you can like that would be the coolest thing if you could. Or something that's kind of fun like that. I don't know about actually screwing up each other's rides. People just get mad at that. Especially a tour of Watopia is like the most competitive group ride in the world. So
I know. So I think, so Zwift didn't do anything April Fools. Maybe they got a bit gun shy after that one where it was sort of like, people did
Zwift
not like that one.
Zwift Insider.
I know. Now that I wanted to mention, that April Fool is amazing because we're a day ahead here. So it was April 2nd. And I'm like looking at Zwift Insider. I was like, wow, what is this feature? And I'm reading it. And all I'm thinking the whole time is they're going to get in a lot of trouble for this. Like, I don't think this is a good feature. Like, this is just going to backfire. So all my thoughts were like,
so it got you. Wow, it totally got you.
It got me. And I was like, wow. And I was like, literally going to write in the wrap show notes, like, WTF, what are they doing? And then I'm like, read to the end. And then I was like, I'm going to check out the comments. And then all the comments were like, you got me. I was like, Yep, it's April Fool's in America today. So, okay, there we go. Like, it got me though, big time.
Yeah, and me and Eric had a little conversation because the funniest thing is that Eric Schlange and Monica Schlange are kind of like matchmakers. Not they're not matchmakers. So me and Gabby use this feature, but like we met through Zwift, right? And so like we were the beta testers, and so I was like, Eric, we were the beta testers. Why didn't you get us in the article? And like we could have been a story of a success of how it worked out and the whole thing. We even have like pictures of us riding together virtually initially, like up a climb in McCurry. Because like that was like one of our first rides together, like just me, like we went on a date in Zwift, like up front because we met through Zwift. It's so funny. So
that's awesome.
We totally like it worked. Like the tandem, it's not an actual feature because people's experience with dating apps in the world. Oh, imagine that in the cycling. Anyways, yeah, like that was so good. Just a missed opportunity though on Zwift tandem. And us being the beta testers, because I think that would have given it even more like really get people. Legit? They've been like, "This is real. What the heck?" So,
whoa, I know. Yeah, that got me though. So that was a good. Maybe Eric can take up the mantle of April Fools each year because that was awesome.
All right. So what are we doing over the next week? What are you doing?
I literally just got a message with my from my gravel buddy. So we're going out gravel riding tomorrow. I have already gotten the competitiveness going and realized on a ride I did there's a couple of QOMs, so I'm going to go QOM hunting tomorrow and hit up some of those. And then the women's I'll just do general like Zwifty stuff. Had the Zwift running league yesterday, so did I think like my fastest 2 kilometers. I got my badge. My last running badge was running a sub 6 minute mile. So I finally got that yesterday. And so thanks to my teammates, Amy Mundersev and Joey Lithgow, and also Cheryl from Team Fearless, who came in and just de-essed us and supported us the whole time. So that was awesome. And she can vouch for the fact that if you have a different accent, you puff in a different way, is what she told me. Because she said the way I was puffing sounded different to how the 2 American teammates were puffing. So there we go. Just keep that in mind on your Discord channel. That if you're
What's
puffing,
your puff
it'll
accent?
come out.
What's your puff accent? Yeah. You got a different puff. You have a very different puff accent.
I've got a very different puff accent. So yeah, there we go. So basically that women's race series, that'll be fun next week. That's kind of me.
It's such a cute puff accent. Oh, I really don't like this puff accent. Oh, that really bugs me.
Oh, it's awesome. And what about you?
So the weather suddenly changed, if you can tell. Look at my if you're listening on podcast, you don't get to see my amazing burn. We went
I was going to comment on that.
We went from like 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so like I don't know what that is, like 4 to 6 degrees or something Celsius, to 70 to 80. It hit 80 degrees Fahrenheit, so like 26°C. 27°C. It's actually 27°C right now. So it's warm. And so we went out for a long ride yesterday. And so we're going to start hitting some longer rides. But this weekend, it's raining cold, I think, for the last go. Aww. So probably tiny races again and some sort of like race or intervals on Sunday. But tomorrow it's going to be nice. So we're going to hit up some a Friday ride, probably some more longer, just out in the sun. Just get used to being out there. What's crazy is that my collarbone is good enough that I was able to stand and go side to side on the bike.
Awesome.
Now I can't like no jarring or anything, but I can be on the road, and I do feel it after the entirety of the ride. It feels like tired a little bit, and like it's a workout muscle, but not like pain. So I'm like, okay, we're good. It's just getting stronger from, and I've always been told, the doctors have worked with me on it, but like, yeah, as long as there's no pain, it's actually good for it because it tells it to get stronger. So it's a good thing. So, yeah, it's exciting, really good. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be streaming any events now. I'm streaming event stuff on YouTube, and then just like chill rides are on Twitch. So that stuff will be. For live this weekend, you'll see it scheduled over on my YouTube, which has been fun to actually see the difference between the two streaming platforms and kind of like how they function. a little bit. I still think Twitch has like better tools when it comes to a game, but cyclists exists on YouTube. There's not as many cyclists hanging out on Twitch, so it's kind of like I'm getting the best of both worlds, though. One's just like a hangout space, and the other one is like, all right, this is a serious event, and go for it. So, but yeah, that's what we're up to.
Cool.
All right, well,
Nice.
everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in. Again, this is also a podcast. If you've been watching with us live, we've been live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Make sure to hit those follow buttons, like it, leave a comment. You can also find us over on Instagram, where we do give updates as well with Zwift Community Live. The podcast, as well as all the live shows, are over on ZwiftCommunityLive.com, and you can also download these anywhere that you can find a podcast. Again, search up Zwift and The Wrap, and you'll be able to find them real easily. This has been episode number 39 on this April 13th, Thursday, April 13th. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you out on Zwift. Hope to see you all hopefully this weekend out on Zwift, or else get outside and enjoy the nice weather. And we will see you next week for episode number 39. For me and Anna, as always, right on.